The weather outside has been very good for the past couple of weeks, so we have decided to put the work here inside the wheelhouse on hold and, in between side jobs, pick up some work outside that still needs to be done. My name is Gijs and this is my dad, and this is Schoener Tijgerhaai. We have recently started a major rebuild to get her ready for new adventures, and we are sharing the process with you. Subscribe to stay tuned. The majority of the work on deck has been completed. In a previous video we gave the aft ship a makeover, and on the main deck in between the masts we installed all the new necessary parts of the rigging. All that remains is the area in front of the foremast. Starting off with a little design flaw that has been there since the original conversion from tugboat to sailing ship. Sailing ships have an elaborate system of stays and shrouds that make the masts and rigging a sturdy hull. The masts are not the only poles that need to be supported. Pointing forward from the ship's bow, we have a third pole called the bowsprit. The bowsprit enables the foresails to be positioned in front of the bow, which is necessary to achieve balance in the sails. Similar to the masts, the bowsprit needs to be supported by stays to handle the force of the sails. On most sailing ships, the setup looks similar. The jib stays provide support in an upward direction, the bowsprit guys in a sideways direction, and quite a complicated combination of stays and spars to keep the bowsprit or jib boom or both down. This little spar, perpendicular to the bowsprit, is called the dolphin striker. The function of the dolphin striker or martingale has nothing to do with striking dolphins. The name just comes from the fact that dolphins often play in front of sailing ships, and the downward pointing stick could potentially hit one. But there are 0 records of dolphin strikers actually striking dolphins. The actual function is to create a bigger angle between the downward stay and the jib boom, because a greater angle means less force on the rigging. As you can see, we don't have a dolphin striker. To create a large enough angle between the bowsprit and the inner and outer bobstay, the stays are attached to the bow on a very low point, close to the water. While this arrangement works well, it does present a different problem. When a ship is at anchor, it's never stationary in the water. It's always swinging a bit to the left and right behind the anchor. This can be solved by dropping in an extra anchor, or what they do on smaller yachts, one anchor attached to the center of the bow. Alternatively, you can just accept that the boat will sway a bit. However, with the bobstay so close to the water, once the anchor is on the opposite side of the bow from where it's attached, it will start chafing along the bobstay, stripping off all the paint, which leads to rust, and even worse, it will bend the bobstay. To solve that, we need to raise the attaching point of the bobstay on the bow. But this will decrease the angle, which will increase the force, which we don't want. So we need a dolphin striker to increase the angle again. Enough theory, let's go! We dug through our stash of used but still good metal and found a thick-walled 3-inch pipe and some very thick metal plates with holes that will work perfectly. On most sailing ships, the dolphin striker has a sharp and pointy point. On ours, we will not make one, just in case we actually hit a dolphin. We don't want them to get hurt. So it will be more of a dolphin stomper. This has nothing to do with the hassle of making it pointy. As we were doing some yearly maintenance on our previous project boat, which is partly the cause of this video taking so long to get finished, it came in very handy as a floating work platform to work on the bowsprit. In order to install the Dolphin striker, we have to remove the outer bobstay first.
Als je maar dit in het uitje moet vasthouden. Dan ligt hij toch wel wat.
Half of the outer bobstay will be repurposed as the martingale stay, and the other half we'll have to use as martingale backstays, which support the Dolphin striker in a sideways direction. It's already bent though and not long enough, so in the stash of used but still good metal we found some more not very straight steel rods that we can use to increase the length of the backstays. They do need to be unbent though. This is also a good opportunity to give the shackles and tensioner some well needed attention. To attach the backstays to the ship, we cannot just weld pad eyes to the hull. It is only 5 mm thick where we want to attach the backstays, so we need to make some hull reinforcements first. In the meantime, we can raise the inner bobstay, which is still low above the water, and actually weld it to both the bowsprit and the bow. Raising it means it will get shorter, so we can just cut it off at the right length. On the top, we don't want to cut it off and re-weld it, because that's a lot of work. We will just heat it up a bit and bend it towards the right direction. No one will notice. Removing the attaching plate from the bow is not that easy. It's a very thick plate, so needs a lot of heat to torch off. The small wobbly working raft made that even more difficult. So we pulled out the big old working raft, which has turned into a floating garden to finish the job. To reinstall it on a higher position, it needs a little modification. Back to the backstays. The floating garden comes in very handy for more work. Now we can install the backstays and make everything a sturdy hull. We have a lot more work to do in front of the foremast, but that's for another time. And this is all for now. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.